Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunflower Cottage Crochet. This is Sarah, and today's tutorial is the Tunisian Full Stitch. So the full stitch is worked by inserting the hook into the space between the stitches. So if I grab my half double Tunisian here, it's going to be this space literally between the stitches, and that'll be more obvious as we start working on this. But as always, we need to start with a foundation row, and this stitch does not have a multiple, so you can chain up any number. I'm going to do 10. Okay. To work the foundation row, I really suggest that you watch my introductory Tunisian video and the Tunisian Simple Stitch video. It'll break it down much better and be a lot slower. But for the rest of us that have already kind of know this, just insert your hook into the next in the second chain from the hook, and I like to get the back humps, and pull a loop up and hold on to it. And you're going to do that all the way down the chain. So insert into the next chain and pull up a loop all the way down. Okay. So I've got my loops on the hook, and I need to chain up one, so I'm going to yarn over and pull through one, and that's our left edge stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through two all the way back, and that finishes off our return pass for the foundation row. Again, if this was your first time working it, I really strongly suggest you go watch the beginning videos. This stitch does not have a multiple, but it does have a row multiple. So there's a 2-row repeat. And if you recall, each row consists of both a forward and a return pass. So we do not need to chain up for this stitch, but we do need to know where to put our hook. So for row 1, essentially, because we never count the foundation row as anything, but for row 1, we need to insert our hook into the first space and then skip the very last space. So let's just work this one at a time. So the very first space is right after our right edge stitch, and you can see that space opening up right there. I'm going to insert my hook right through that space and pull up a loop. And then I'm going to find the next space between my bars, go right through it, and pull up a loop. I'm not going between any legs or anything because that would make a knit stitch. I'm just going into the gap right under the top bar, which is what this is, and pulling up a loop. So go right into the gap, out the back, pull up a loop, and do that all the way down, skipping the very last gap before the left edge stitch. So we're not going to go into this one, but we do need to work the left edge. So we're going to go grab the left edge stitch, pull up a loop. And before I move on, there we go. So now I need to chain up one. I'm going to do that, work the left edge, and then we're going to pull through two. This is a normal return all the way back until you only have one loop left on the hook. And there you go. So that's the first row. The second row, you don't chain up one, remember. Now, instead of going into this very first gap, we need to go into the second gap because the first gap kind of isn't there. So now we're going to go into the second gap and pull up a loop. And then in each of the next, all the way down, and this time we're not skipping the end one because we're offsetting them. Okay, and then we're going to grab our left edge stitch and pull up a loop. And if you're confused about how many stitches you grabbed, you can just count the loops on your hook, and if you have 10, if you were doing 10 with me, then you're correct. So we need to yarn over and chain up, and now we're going to pull through two all the way down, until there's only one left. So normal return. And that's the 2-row repeat. You can see that they're starting to offset each other. Let's work a couple more so that we fully understand the repeat. So this time we're going to start in the very first gap because now it looks open and available right after this right edge stitch. So I'm going to go right into that, out the back again, and pull up a loop. I'm just honestly just going under this top bar right out the back. This is a very easy stitch to do, and it's quick to work, and it does look pretty too. A lot of Tunisian stitches look pretty. Now we do not work this very last gap, and it's almost not there anyway, so we're not going to worry about it. And if you're unsure, again, count the number of loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know I'm going to have 10 when I work my left edge stitch. So I'm going to insert into the left edge and pull up a loop. And now I know I have 10 and I have done it correctly. So I'm going to chain up 1 and work a normal return, a regular return. There we go. All right, it's almost looking kind of like chain, like a necklace chain. I don't know what I'm thinking, but anyway, I like it. So to continue on with that 2-row repeat, if we started in the first gap, we need to now start in the second gap. So I'm just going to go right into that second gap. The first gap is almost kind of gone anyway, and this time we don't skip any gaps at the end. We work all the way through. Okay, and then we grab that left edge and pull up. And again, if you need to for a while, just count how many you have, and I do have 10 to make sure. And we need to chain up 1 and do our normal return all the way back. So this does seem to want to curl a little bit, but not nearly as bad as like the knit stitch or the simple stitch. But I'm really liking how it looks offset like this. So let's work one last 2-row repeat together, and then I will show you how to bind off. So again, you can see exactly where you need to start because this looks pretty gappy here. So if you put your work down, you'll know if this looks gappy or if it doesn't look gappy is what you need to look for. So if it looks like there's a big gap here and not so much of a gap between the left edge and this next stitch, then you know you need to start in this very first gap. So go ahead and start there and then continue gathering up in each gap. But skip the very last one. It's really hard to see anyway. You have to push things out of the way. And again, you could always count your loops. If you have 9, then you know you've grabbed all of them and you need to work your left edge, which I'm doing now. And then I chain 1 and then work a normal return all the way back. And there it is. So our last of the 2-row repeats is to start in the second gap. So here's the first one, but it's pretty closed up. So we know that this is the one that we need to start out in. And then I'm just going to continue going into all the gaps, all the way down, even the one that we skipped the last row. Right here before the left edge stitch, and now I need to work my left edge. And I can already see that I have all of the loops I need to have. So I'm going to chain up 1 and then work a normal return all the way back. Okay, so now the bind off. I strongly suggest that if you're making something with this stitch, like a washcloth or anything, you need to probably work both of the 2 row repeats before you bind off, because it will help make things simpler for you. So to bind off, we're going to work how we have been. So to restart our 2 row repeat, you go into the very first gap that's available here and pull through and pull through. So we're slip stitching again. So we're going to the next gap and pull through and pull through, and the next gap and pull through and through, into the next gap and pull through and through. And I'm just doing that all the way down, but I'm going to skip that last gap just before my edge stitch, just like we had been doing. And I'm going to do the same with my edge stitch, go in and pull through and pull through. And then you can fasten off like you normally do, and that will keep it looking consistent. This is the Tunisian Full Stitch. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and I also hope that you will give us a like, a comment, and subscribe. And please hit the little bell icon to be notified anytime that we upload a new video. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.